Alright everybody, welcome back to the Inhabit Mars channel. Today we are going to be looking at a very interesting video that Chris posted on June 30th. Now this one is called More Structures Uncovered in Mars Curiosity Photo. Now I always recommend that you watch his videos first and see what you think you're seeing. I'll tell you, this picture, these couple of pictures that I took, the screenshots from it, I found a whole lot of stuff, and I really didn't think it was going to take this long to get it out, and I apologize that it's taken this long to get out. But as you can see, even from this first image, there are several structures in this, and it took a while to decipher what was in here. And I had a good bit of help from um, my mother-in-law Anna and some others to help me really make sure that what I was seeing was what I was seeing. Now it's very in depth, and we're going to focus on this area in the foreground, and I really think that I'm going to have to break this up into two videos because it's just going to be way too long. Now Chris had marked this one image here with a green arrow, this one part of the image, the structure that he found, and I started there. That's the first place that I started, and I kept looking at that, and I know that several people had commented uh, on his video and stuff that these look like ships, and I looked at them and looked at them just to make sure that I wasn't imagining that or trying to take that into account, and I really tried to decipher it. But the more we're going to look into this image today, the more I think you'll see that those that commented that these look like ships, I really believe that that's what they are, and hopefully when we get to the 3D model, I can show you that. Um, so what I want you to do is I've circled several of these images, several of these structures in this image, and now he also takes it into black and white, and I like when he does that because it takes away the color, and so the color doesn't mess with your eyes, and you're only seeing the black and white, so you're trying to pick out shapes, and that's what I try to do, is pick out the shapes and decipher what we're seeing, and then try to bring that into a 3D model. So this is a black and white image here, and it's the same image we just looked at in color. As you can see here, here's the color image, and then he just took it and put it in black and white. And I apologize, we're actually at a hotel right now. We do travel a lot. So we're in a hotel right now. My kids are in here with me. So uh, hopefully they'll keep it down for just a little bit. Um, all right, so we're looking at this black and white image, and already, now he cleaned these up, and he does an excellent job of cleaning these up. And please go check out his channel, and specifically, I want you to check out this video here. Um, Check that out, and I always recommend that you watch these before you watch this, because just the stuff that he brings out of these photos, and he does an excellent job in Photoshop to bring this stuff out. If it weren't for him, what I'm doing, it wouldn't even be possible. So what I believe we are looking at is you have to understand where the Curiosity Rover is right now, and right now the Curiosity Rover is right here in Gale Crater. Okay, and this is a rendered image of Gale Crater. This was on the space newsletter website, and you can look this article up because it's very interesting. It talks about how Mount Sharp was a very salty lake, and just show you the rest of the article. I thought I was going to read this to you, but you can actually look this up. But it talks about how they have been imaging that area for a while, and for some reason, NASA is very interested in Gale Crater and Mount Sharp. Now, the reason that they are so interested in it, I believe, is because that, you know, the stuff like this that they're finding. We found these ships, as if you watched my first video, you know that that was, I'm pretty sure, I believe anyway, that that was a boat frame that was sitting there in the foreground, and then you have the pipes that were behind it. And I figured out what some of those pipes are, because on these structures, these ships, we actually find those pipes in there. And I should have brought up a picture where I zoomed in. I had one of those and I forgot to load it into OBS, and I apologize. But yeah, you can still see them if you take some screenshots of this of these images that I have up on there, and you zoom in. Actually, just right around where he has the green arrow pointing down to the ship, if you look just to the left of that ship in the middle, or what I believe to be a ship, and you zoom in on that, you will actually see two of those pipes. They're mounted to the deck, and they actually provide airflow down into the inside of the ship, you know, where the cabins would be and stuff. And these are, some of these ships are pretty large structures. So these specifically seem to be square rig ships. And I know that because the ship that's to the left, and I didn't get that one circled, and I apologize, I've been working on this image for, well, since he put it out on the 30th, trying to decipher what all this stuff was. But the one to the left, there is actually a sail still attached to the mast. It's weather beaten and it's got some holes in it, but it's still pretty much intact. And he had actually gone over that in his video, thinking that it was part of a rooftop that was collapsed. And as I looked more at it, if you take a snapshot of this image here, and I should give you the black and white so the color doesn't mess with your eyes. Where is that one? Right here. You'll see that where the mast comes down out of the center of the ship, that ship to the left, it's located about the center of the screen vertically on the far left. That's that triangle looking object back there. The mast actually comes out towards the camera, and you'll see ropes attached to that mast if you zoom in, and tied to the piece of that actual sail that's still left there, and it actually drapes over the top of the boat still, the part of the boat that's still there. It actually drapes over the top. If you follow that along that mast, it's tied at the end, and then it's torn off as it gets closer to the hull of the ship, and then it actually loops back up over the ship. And I'm going to show you that here in the 3D image in just a minute. But let me show you what I came up with, and then we're going to go into the model live and look around at some of this so you can see it. So this image here is taken from about the same angle as the actual photograph, all right? And by the way, there are some structures in the background, and that's what I want to get into next week. Those are a little harder to decipher because they're farther back, and I believe Chris said it took a lot more effort to clean up that background area, if I remember right. And so the stuff is going to come out kind of blurry. But if you look in the image behind these boats, you can actually see a roadway back there and some structures. And it took, you know, use your magnifying glass, as he always tells you, and take a look at that background area, because we're going to be going over that in some pretty good detail. You're going to see some very, very interesting objects back there. And I believe I modeled them as pretty well correct as possible from the information that we have from the picture. And some of those structures are very interesting, and I'll go into that more on the next video. But like I said, today we're just going to focus on this foreground area. So let's go ahead and bring up Blender now, and Here we go. Let's go to our Blender scene. Now here is our scene in Blender. And let's take a look at these boats in the front because these are the ones that you can see most prominently. Now this one is buried into the side of this hill. And let me see if I can get us a good, oh, I'm not in rendered mode here. That was in look demo. Okay, so now you can see it with the lighting and everything. And the texture I have for the ground was not a big enough texture, and it tiles. You're going to see some tiling and stuff as these lines go through. But it'll work for what we're trying to do here. Now, this boat here was the most interesting to me because it has these octagonal things on here that it actually took quite some time to figure out what these might be. Now, all of these boats, I believe, are sailing vessels that they use for fishing. And once again, Gale Crater was a salty lake. NASA has said that it used to be a salty lake. Now, they believe it's millions of years old, and I don't think that these ships look deteriorated enough to be millions of years old. I don't think there'd be anything left. I don't think there would be any wood left or any structures. And once again, we don't know how fast stuff deteriorates on Mars based on their weather patterns and stuff. But still, you would think wood after millions of years would probably be pretty much disintegrated. And so we're going to look at some of these boats and stuff that I found, and I'm going to try to work both Blender and this. I only have one screen. I really do need to get a second screen. I actually have one in my truck, but I need to, in a hotel room especially, it's not, there's not enough room to set up a second monitor, and I'd have to unmount it from my truck. But let's take a look at some of these boats. And like I said, you're going to see several of these little octagonal features on there. And these are on almost all of these wooden boats. All right. And what I believe these are is fishing nets, because on this boat we still had this spool still attached to the hull. Now it's busted through the side on the image. And then we have this reel right here, which it's motorized, and it actually, let's see, there we go. It's actually motorized and has a spindle in the middle that there's a cable in the image, and I wish I would have got it modeled. It actually goes to right here. There's a hole here where the cable goes through, and I'll try to get back to the image of where I have that. And what it does is it lowers these down, and there would be a netting underneath. Now, none of these I could make out the netting, but on this bottom part, there would be a netting that hangs down, and they would let this down into the water, it seems. And these top openings is where the fish would swim in, and then all I have to do is raise these back up. And as you can see from this one here, it's octagonal in shape. And so I have a pretty good feeling that Gale Crater was a great fishing area, and for you fishermen out there, it might be a good place to go to visit and do some fishing. But let me see if I can find that back in the image over here. Yeah, this is probably the best. And if you get in any closer, I try to zoom in closer, you see it. But if you see this boat that's on the right, the one that's buried into the side of the hill, I would say take a screenshot of this and then zoom in. It's going to be real blurry, but if you adjust your eyes, you can actually see those two. You can see the spool and you can see the spindle, and in between them is one of those, what I believe to be fishing nets, because there's a actual rope or cable that's still attached to the spool, and the spool is on the right, and then you have that octagonal shape in the middle, and then you have the spindle with what looks like a motor attached to it, electric motor or something, where they could just lower this down in, and then when it's catches the fish and it's full of fish, they just raise it back up. And I'm sure there's a holding tank somewhere that would have been on the boats to keep all the fish in. All right, and you see it even in that boat that's to the left, the big boat that you see to the left in the middle of the image. That has one laying right there on the deck. All right, and it's there. You can see it in the image. And I can go back to the model and we can actually look at this. All right, so you have two of them that are actually standing there, and there was more stuff on this deck right here. But even if you look at, let's say, this ship over here, and I apologize, my kids, they're waking up. It's morning time, and it's time for them to eat. But there you go. There's that one that's laying on the deck here. And if you also look back at this image, you can see on that boat there, you can see steps going up to this top deck that's on the back of the boat. And this is, once again, that boat that's in the middle of the image. And you see a metal piece of a mast sticking out with this ball on it. And this one's metal. It's not wood like the other mast. So I don't know what this one is for exactly, but it's also bent up and stuff. And once again, we can go back to the model here, and I encourage you to pause the video at any time, take screen caps, and go back to Chris's video and look through there and re-watch it again if you've already watched it. And you're going to see this stuff in there. It's nothing that he's added to it. All he does is clean up the images and does a fantastic job of that. But this one actually has a wooden mast right here, and it's laying down on the deck. And then here's those pipes. Now the one pipe got bent, turned probably from maybe some of the pieces as they're decaying, falling on it. But those pipes are right there, and they're sitting on the deck here. And what they seem to do is allow airflow to go down inside the cabins underneath the deck, so they can get air down there. And there's actually one, if I can get around that pole, that's here on the back of the boat. And you can see those steps going up. And you can see this, I don't know what this would be. Maybe this goes into the captain's quarters. It's starting to sag and decay a little bit. I think I got it sagged a little too much here in the render. But there would be a door or something on the front where you could go in and go into the captain's quarters, or whatever would be there, the galley maybe, I'm not sure. And then there's one more pipe back here, and I believe there would have been a pipe over here, and you'd have to, when you go up these steps, you'd probably have to step to the side, because this one over here that's highlighted right now, actually almost directly in line with the steps. It's over by the side of the boat right there, so you just have to kind of step in. And I'm sure the wheelhouse would be up here on this upper portion of the deck. Now the one ship that I really want to show you as far as these kind of antique wood ships is, this is the one we looked at here. This one is actually broken in half, and this is the one I was telling you. Let me see if I can go back to the image real quick so that you can see what I'm talking about. Not that image. I think it's this one. Yeah, this one here. As you look at this one, now that's that boat that's the farthest boat to the left. And if you screen cap this and then zoom in, you'll see that you can see ropes still attached and holding a piece of that sail on. And that sail is actually coming out, and it goes behind this boat that's in the middle. And I wish you could see where I'm pointing with my pointer. And then there's a road behind it. Well, the sail ends before that road, even from the image itself. My daughter's wanting to talk this morning. And you can see that, okay? And it actually goes back, and you can see where it drapes over the side of that boat that's broken in half, and there's a big crack down there, and I went ahead and modeled that crack too, so that you can kind of see what I'm looking at there. And I'll get to this boat right here in the foreground because this is a more modern boat. So whenever this disaster happened, I'm not sure that it happened millions of years ago because this boat was pretty much intact. This white one here in the foreground. Uh, it looks it's like it's got some deterioration, but really not that much. I'm sure it's probably some sort of fiberglass or something because it didn't deteriorate very much. But we can look at this and you can see this is kind of what I came up with on this boat. And the sail is there. And I mean, it is deteriorated somewhat and it's got some holes in it. But we can come around and look at it from all angles. And this was most interesting. And like I said, I have no idea what kind of fabric this is made out of, and it is deteriorated. But what kind of fabric could they have used that would survive millions of years? I don't know. I don't think so. I think that the disaster that happened on Mars happened more recently. Because once again, even our best materials here on Earth do not last millions of years. They would be deteriorated, and I just can't believe that it was that long ago. Okay, let's go back to this image here. Now, that big boat that's cracked in half, uh, and where the mast is still attached that we just looked through in the image, and let me just flip back and forth here. You can see this white boat in the foreground. Now, that's actually in the image, and let's go back to the image. And if you look where the tip of the boat would be, and then just in front of it, lo and behold, there's that boat. And we're going to take a look at what that boat looks like. And once again, I encourage you to screen cap it, zoom in. Now it's going to get real blurry when you zoom in. In fact, Chris got as close as he could in his video without making it blurry. But what you do is when it's blurry, you can sit back and try to blur your eyes just a little bit, and what you're looking for is the shapes. You're not going to see any detail by blurring your eyes, but by blurring your eyes just enough, you'll actually start seeing the shape, and then you just switch back between blurring and refocusing your eyes, and you'll see that this boat is definitely there. And there's actually what looks like a car behind it. It's too hard to tell, but I swear it looks like a car. And I came up with two conclusions. Number one, either these pictures weren't really taken from Mars, or number two, which is the one I believe, we probably descended from the people from Mars, and stuff has been carried forward from Mars to Earth, because a lot of the stuff we're seeing on Mars looks a lot like our stuff. If you saw this boat out on a lake, other than it being all dirty and deteriorated, which I did model it that way also, you wouldn't know that it was from another planet. If you saw this out on the lake, and it's a pretty good sized boat, and since it is, I have no idea how much these how big these things are. It's hard to get an idea of scale from just the image. But if you look at this, unless this was made for some very small people, it's got this area here, which really isn't raised up too high from what I could tell in the image. Let me see if I can go back to the image. There you go. And it's, like I say, it's on the left-hand side in front of that big boat that's cracked towards the center of the screen vertically. You can just barely see it there, but it's there. And the cabin area is really not that high, so unless some of these boats, unless they had different size people on Mars, this boat has got to be a pretty good size. And then you look at that sailing ship that's behind it, and you can see the difference in size. That's a pretty big difference. And so that sailboat that's in the back, and I forgot to show you, let me go back real quick. I just want to show you something. Now, this cracked boat right here that's in the back, and in fact, all of these are what's called square rigged. vessels. And I meant to show you this. This is an image of what a square-rigged boat looks like on Earth. And if you notice in my model, when I get back to the model, I didn't model the bottom of the ships because I have no idea what the bottom of their ships look like. So all I tried to model was what I could see. But this is a square-rigged vessel here, and then here's another image of one right here, just so you can get an idea of what square-rigged ships look like. But that's what they look like, and I'll just flip back and forth because these are the two best ones that matched kind of what we're looking at in these images here. All right, so let's go back to this boat here. And this one was very interesting because this is a more modern boat. And let me get a little closer to it for you. All right. Oh, I forgot to unwrap that one corner right there. But that's okay. This corner right here, I forgot to unwrap. I was kind of trying to finish this up in a hurry. And I don't want to make this video too long. I've already been on for 26 minutes, so I'm going to try to get off here. And like I say, then we'll focus on the stuff in the background. But yeah, you can see this boat. That's what it looks like. And very interesting. I just want to mention I'm still working on these, and for the next video I have no idea what these things are, but they have those same fishing nets on them. There's one on this side and one, okay, there's one on this side over here on some sort of motor or something that lowers it down. There's one on this side, and there's one on this back, what I thought was a pipe at first, but there's actually one attached to those in the images, and I'll go over those next week, or next video. Hopefully it'll be this next week. And the other boat of interest, there's two more boats of interest, and I'll try to make these quick, and these are in the image, this is kind of a modern boat. This seemed to be a ferry boat, and I'm just going to show you for a minute. Let me go back to the black and white image. If you look up here on this hill that's on the right side of the screen, and in front of that boat that's laying into the side of the hill, you'll start to make out that shape. And I screen capped that, zoomed in, I blurred my eyes, did everything I could, and that is what I came up with, was right here. This seems to be a paddle wheel ship. Okay, that's a ferry boat, and I believe this would be used to ferry passengers across the outside of Gale Crater to the inside. Let me find my Gale Crater. Okay, so if you were on the outer banks of Gale Crater, and let's say you wanted to go do some shopping or vacationing or what on the inside, you know, it seems like this would be a ferry boat to run, and the front appears to be glass because it had a little bit of reflectivity to it even in the image. And so that really interested me. It's really hard to tell, but when you zoom in, it's hard to tell, but you can see those spars in the front of the boat, and I'll show you on the render here. You can see these spars, and they look like they're thicker on the image, but you get the idea that these were all around that front portion, these spars right here, and then this appeared to be some sort of glass or something, and then you had these paddle wheels, and this is buried into the dirt, and then the pilot house would be up top, and then you had a door or something. And let me see if I can flip back there. And once again, I recommend you screen cap this and zoom in. But on the top, you can see that dark portion on that top deck, which looks like a door or something where you could go in. All right, and that's what I saw there. One more boat that I do want to look at is to show you this boat. Here it is right here. Now this one is very interesting because this seems to be some sort of power boat. Once again, let's go back to the black and white image so you can see that I'm not just pulling this out of my head. This one. Okay, now in this picture, it's easy to miss, but once you see it, as Chris will tell you, you can't unsee this. And to give more evidence that it's a boat, I'm going to show you, hopefully I can show you that there's actually a boat prop next to it. But if you look at the very foreground of the image to the right-hand side, you'll start to see that boat appear. It almost fades into the ground surface, but it is there. And please screen cap that and look at the very foreground to the right-hand side of the image. And you'll see the motor sitting on top. You'll actually see the pilot area where a big wheel is just in front of where the motor is. You'll see some sort of exhaust pipes is what they look like coming out, and it is there. And I just stopped in my tracks when I saw that. That's kind of what it looks like right here. And I'll try to get it from different angles. And then it's got the shaft that comes out to the back, and it's going into the ground right now because the boat's sitting halfway in the ground. And I don't know what this one would be used for, but you can see all the design in the side, and that's actually there in the image. And right behind it over here, and I'll go back to the image, but it would be right behind it over here is a huge prop, and I don't think it goes to this boat. It would go to something bigger, like maybe one of these sailing vessels if they also had them motorized, so that when they're in by shore they could, dock if they needed to, although that'd be a pretty big dock for some of these boats. But yeah, let me go back to the image and just adjust your eyes and just look just to the top left corner of that boat that we were looking at, and you'll see it. That prop comes out, and it looks just like a boat prop here on Earth, with the bent blades and everything, the curved blades. It's there. And so pause that right there. Okay, so I've already gone longer than I wanted to, so I'm gonna end this here. But okay, for the next video, we are going to oops. Okay, it helps if I hit the right button here. We're going to focus on this area right back here. Okay, and there were some very interesting things sitting back there. And this right here, this is a roadway, and it actually comes back here, and it may cross behind this hill over here, although I'm not sure. I'm still trying to figure that out. But there's this object in the image. And once again, let me go back to the black and white image so you see I'm not just making it up. And it's going to be hard to see because the stuff in the background is more blurred and faded. But if you look where that roadway comes and then makes a 90-degree turn, it looks like there's something there, an object. And my question was jokingly, I asked my girlfriend and her mom, in fact, I said, is that a Martian traffic light? Because it's right there at the corner where we would have a traffic light, and it kind of has that shape. But we'll look into that next week. And there's actually a trimaran sitting on the bridge. There's a bridge. There's a little ravine. You can tell it's a ravine in the image. And there's a bridge underneath it. The light just barely goes underneath it. And I had to add a back lamp to the scene to get some light under that bridge. And then there's these objects here, and I don't want to explain too much about what I think is going on with this. Oh, shoot. Yeah, see, I did it again. I was getting better. I thought I was not going to do that today. I'm sorry. Here we go. This is the one I thought was maybe a Martian traffic light or something. I don't know. It was right on the corner where the road makes a 90-degree turn. Here's the bridge, and there's like a trimaran on the bridge. And then we've got this object here, and we've got this. This is even clearer in the image. Let me go back to the image, and you can see that. You can see that back there. You have to zoom in and you're gonna have to adjust your eyes, but it's very clear. It is there. And there's actually a road that leads up to that mountain or that hill. And that hill is from where the Curiosity is sitting. That hill right there in the image, that's facing towards the water. That's in the direction of the lake. Okay, that all these boats, in fact, have been pushed up out of the lake from a huge tsunami type of wave that just when the nukes hit or whatever happened or meteorite, whatever happened, it blew even this stuff out of the water. And Gale Crater is not that close from where Dr. Brandenburg says it is close, but it's not like extremely close to where Dr. Brandenburg says that the other nuke hit, which was in Galaxious Chaos. And from the prevailing winds, though, it does come right through this area, and probably the shock wave and everything caused a like a little tsunami. It's only, I think, Gale Crater is only like 2 miles wide, but which is still a big lake. But you know, it made like a tsunami in there and blew all this stuff up out of the water. All right, so that's what we're going to look at next week. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and hope to get this up today. I've got to work today. But when I get home, I'll try to start uploading it. So y'all be safe out there, especially during these times. I travel a lot, and we've heard and seen some very interesting things out there. Gunshots right outside of our hotels where we stop when we're traveling. And just be careful, guys. Be careful out there. And thank you.